Hello again. For Mark Bunting, I'm Michael Hainsworth. Shirley is here via the mailbox, writing in about Scotiabank, telling you she wants to buy it, asking, is this a strong buy or sell? Canadian banks seem to be a good investment.
Well, so here's the way we would look at that. First of all, when we look at sector leadership, financials clearly are leadership in this market, whether you look on a global basis or you look in the Canadian market. U.S. market financials have been quite strong. We have quite a number of U.S. financials in our portfolios, banks, insurance companies, and asset managers. In Canada, because several of the sectors that are leading the market are not well represented, financials are carrying an even bigger part of the burden for Canadian investors. So I think that the group of banks in general is performing remarkably well. For the first time in about 18 months, they're outperforming the U.S. banks over the last 3 months. Virtually all of them are trading, at or close to highs. The reason you want to own Scotia is if you believe that the international piece of the business will do well, as opposed to owning one of the banks that's more domestically focused.
Do you believe that?
Well, I think that the long-term strategy is a very good one. The only thing that I would say is that when we look at credit markets, the only credit markets that are having a tougher time are some of the South American countries where a lot of corporate debt was issued in U.S. dollars. And as their currencies are having trouble, that raises a little bit of risk. But in general, I think the long-term strategy probably is good. It's just you have to know you're making the investment in international exposure.
Since the money manager is one of your top picks tonight, do you see more torque in the money managers than the big five?
We do, and so we own a number of money managers. Because we like the equity market and because we like the rotation towards equities, we think that money managers look really attractive. But the Canadian banks certainly will participate in that. They all have strong wealth management businesses. Just if you're choosing Scotia, you're really making the bet on international versus some of the others, say RBC, which is more wealth management.
All right, thank you very much, Shirley, for the email. Market call at bnn.ca. Not the only way to get a hold of us. On the toll-free line, we have Raymond in Burlington. Welcome to Market Call tonight, Raymond.
Good evening. I was thinking, are lumber companies kind of overbought right now? And I'm thinking of Weyerhaeuser in particular for a 1 to 2 year holding. What do you think? Thank you.
Well, Raymond, if you're going to go forest products, we would prefer to focus on the timber companies as opposed to those with the paper exposure and the cellulose exposure. So, for instance, we own Interfor. You could... Well, there's a number of them that look quite attractive, and the fact is that because of the beetle problem in BC, their supply side is down, and you're getting pretty good growth and demand coming out of China and Japan. And so in general, we think that the forest stocks probably continue to do quite well because there's a tight supply-demand relationship. One of the only commodities right now actually that has tighter supply.
And we're looking at it here at multi-year highs. It's up 80% in the last year or so. How much more upside do you expect? I can imagine a technical type would say, look, it retested a 52-week high, didn't manage to break through it, but if it does again, that's a solid sign.
Yeah, I think that the longer-term story for these lumber companies is pretty good. We think that in general, housing will slowly get better in the U.S. We think that China will continue to be pretty strong. We think Japan is getting a little bit better. Interfor, gives you pretty good torque to all of that. The Weyerhaeuser, is a little more of a yield name. It's a REIT. They took their assets and put them into a REIT format, so the payout is going to be higher. But I think that if I had to choose right now, I'd probably prefer a lumber company.
All right, the payout is currently 3%. That's 22 cents paid out, Raymond, on a quarterly basis. Thanks for the call from Burlington. We're off to Winnipeg now for Daryl. Hello, Daryl.
I'm calling on Pioneer Natural Resources. It had a severe drop today, but it started breaking down 2 or 3 weeks ago. I was wondering if there's some fundamental reason what caused that, or and if you would look at this as a good entry point. Thank you.
Sure. So, Daryl, we're a big investor in Pioneer, and we've had it for quite some time. It's been a great holding over the course of the year. In energy, specifically, the groups that have been doing well are those exploration and development companies that are in some very specific geographic regions where they have very low finding costs, and with technology, are growing their reserves really aggressively. So big Western Canadian oil companies not doing as well. Pioneer's in the Permian Basin, which is in Texas. It's one of the oldest oil fields in the U.S. They believe they have 8 Bakken zones stacked one on top of the other. And they have about 1,200 drilling targets. So it's a high growth company. So that being said, in a bull market, you see steady advances and short, sharp pullbacks. And this has certainly been a momentum investment in the group. Pioneer, Diamondback Energy, FANG is another name in the area. We think the long-term picture for this is very, very good. I think that despite the fact that there has been some more volatility over the last few weeks, there's been no break in trend. It's certainly trading above all its moving averages, and the way we look at it still looks attractive. The one thing I would be concerned about, and that we are concerned about in the oils, is that WTI pricing has been backing off over the last few weeks. And while it has less impact on these high growth companies that are finding oil, ultimately, if it gets tough enough, it will impact all the oil stocks. So that's the near term risk, I think.
Daryl, there you have it. Thanks for the call from Winnipeg. We're taking a brief break. David Burrows is our guest. He is President and Chief Investment Strategist at Barometer Capital Management. We're taking your questions on North American large caps. If you can't stay with us, we can always make sure you get the top picks emailed to you at the end of the program. Go to bnn.ca/subscribe. You fill in the box there with your email address. Not only do you get the top picks, but the next day you get a look ahead to the market moving stories of the day.